Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to 12 Sports Extra. I'm JP SMOLLINS, joined here by this week's Cardi's Furniture and Mattresses hometown sports hero, Carl Greene, former Hendricken standout who's gone on quite a football journey and is now kind of pursuing professional football. So welcome you in, Carl, and thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, man. I appreciate the opportunity to kind of speak and share my story.
All right. I think most people would remember the name from Hendricken, from your time at Hendricken High School. Talk a little bit about, kind of, I guess, walk people from the start. You graduate from Hendricken, state champion in your senior year? Okay.
Yes, we were. I had a great experience at Hendricken. I'm actually going there tonight to speak, kind of share my story too. So it's going to be a great experience. But I had a great time at Hendricken. I had a great time at all three schools, actually. But I left Hendricken 2019, graduated from Hendricken. Went to URI, COVID happened, transferred, went to Cortland State, had a great time up there, learned a lot. Then I finished off at UMass Dartmouth and had a great time there too.
The URI opportunity, there's kind of been a pipeline from Rhode Island kids going to URI. For you, how did that was it a sort of natural transition? What was your, I guess, coming into college, was that at that time URI was kind of building the program, exciting place to be. What was your mindset going into that freshman year?
Going into a Division I program, I was ecstatic. I had a handful of Division I offers, and obviously I picked URI because I wanted to stay close to home. I believed in the vision that the Rhodey team is living out right now, obviously being a national championship contender. But I was ecstatic to, be able to play close to home.
All right. And then that COVID year kind of happened. Fortunate to maybe reassess things. How did the Cortland State opportunity, how did that kind of come together for you?
So Cortland State, when I left URI, I was in the transfer portal for a while, and then COVID happened. So Cortland State, they gave me a great opportunity, great academic package, and I went there and had a great experience.
What kind of attracted you? The coaching staff, the school? What was the balance there?
Cortland, I don't know if you know, but they're like the biggest, they play in one of the biggest Division III games in the country. It's called the Cortica Jugs. They play Ithaca, which is another great program in upstate New York. So basically it was like the big stage, which is like, they're like in the contenders, and they actually ended up winning the national championship a few years ago. So they're a great school, national championship contender, and I knew that if I wanted to still have that Division I kind of feel, play football at the highest level, and Cortland just fit that mold for me.
And then at Cortland, decide to come back home to UMass Dartmouth to finish up. Talk to me about that, how that process worked out for you.
I just wanted to be closer to home. Cortland's 8 hours away. I kind of got homesick, missed the family, missed the kind of small state of Rhode Island. But, I made that decision to leave, and it made more sense for me just to be closer to home. I live with my grandparents, so, watching them get older and stuff, I just wanted to be closer to home and, be around them, because they could only go to one game a year, and that would be the Ithaca game that they would go to watch me play. So it just meant the world to see my family be able to come up. It's only 40 minutes away from East Greenwich to Dartmouth, to be able to watch me play every week. So that was a decision to come closer to home. I kind of got homesick, and, I was younger. Now that I learned from it, I'm in exactly where God wants me to be,
Right. You get out of UMass Dartmouth. You guys had a very successful final season when you were there.
We did.
Was pro football even sort of on the radar, or what was your kind of mindset at that point?
I always knew I had the athletic potential to get there, but I just had to get in front of somebody that would be able to give me that kind of, spotlight and stuff to play on a bigger stage, like that. So I ended up sending my film to a bunch of postseason bowl games. The FCS Bowl, which is a really good one down in Daytona Beach, Florida. Then the Dream Bowl in Dallas, Texas. And then I played in the Unity Bowl in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. All great games. For any small school guy, I definitely would recommend, if you want to try to pursue the professional dream, you definitely need to go to a bigger postseason bowl game, because with all these bigger school guys and stuff that get the first dibs when it comes to the professional looks, you need to get in front of pro scouts, because pro scouts are going to be there. It's going to be loaded. The stands, they're all going to have their clipboards, and they're all going to be watching. So I knew that I had to get in front of, that type of atmosphere. So I ended up just sending my film out to every postseason Senior Bowl game that they had. Yeah, even the Shrine Bowl down in Dallas, which is the biggest one, I sent them out to everybody, so they all have my tape. And then, God willing, I ended up getting 3 bowl game invites, and I went there and just, I had a great game in all 3 games, one-on-ones. And it's actually funny because in Dallas, I'm sure you'll get to it too, about the versatility of being able to play both sides of the ball to appeal to a pro team. So I was in Dallas. I sent the film out to the guy. He sends me a message on Twitter back and an email, and he's like, hey, you know, we love your film. We love the speed, the athleticism, but we're full at safety where I played in college, like that safety nickel kind of guy. And then they were like, where we have an open spot at running back. I said, anywhere you guys need me to play, I will go there and play and make sure that I learn the playbook and everything. And he said, don't make me regret this. I said, okay, cool. So then I ended up at Dallas, and I had a great game.
Building up to that, getting ready for those, how did you you finish your senior season? Like, what was the prep like getting ready to kind of get your body in shape to get that opportunity even?
Definitely kind of just sticking to the formula that I've always stuck to, you know, staying in shape, staying in the best physical shape that I could possibly stay in. A lot of running on the track. I'm sure, you know, everybody knows I was a track guy at Hendricken as well. I was all-state sprinter my junior and senior year, 4x1, won a lot of races at Hendricken. So just kind of going back to the bread and butter, which is the speed, because the only difference really between, you know, the bigger school guys and the smaller school guys isn't necessarily skill or anything like that. It's mostly the speed, you know, because the speed of the game is faster. Everybody's running 4.4s, 4.3s, some guys 4.2s. So to be able to keep up with those FCS and FBS guys, I just knew I had to, you know, get back to my bread and butter, get on the track, get faster, and obviously get a little stronger. So that was the prep, and mostly mental too, you know, knowing that my mindset is going to be like, I have to go out and dominate, and there's no room for error, especially being a smaller school guy. You're not going to have as much leeway as some of the bigger school guys are going to have. So I just knew I had to go out and dominate mentally, physically, all around, you know. And
we're watching a little bit of your workout video. I get to see you in action on Monday, and we were just talking about, you know, really the difference between like a 4.51 and a 4.47. Right? Like little fractions make big differences at that level. Talk a little about that and kind of shave yourself down.
Yeah, definitely. So the margin for error is so small, especially being a smaller school guy, like I said, is that 4.5 and a 4.4. It doesn't seem like that much of a difference like when you're just looking at it on paper, but the scouts see, okay, a 4.4 is elite, a 4.5 is, there's a lot of people that run 4.5s, and there's less people that run 4.4s, 4.3s, and obviously the Tyreek Hill and the you know, the speedsters of the league running like a 4.2, 4.1, you know what I mean? I think Xavier Worthy ran like a 4.19 or something crazy from the I think he's with the Kansas City Chiefs right now. But anyway, so those elite speedsters, that makes you stand out so much more. And especially being a small school guy, you really have to have the pro day numbers. You know what I mean? Like you have to have elite numbers across the board to even get looked at, because like I said, I knew I had to put myself in that elite caliber of speed. So I just reverted back to my bread and butter, getting on the track, losing weight, staying strong, and, you know, flexible and all that.
So you get through the All-Star games. How does then you get this opportunity with Team America? Talk a little about how that sort of situation presented itself and kind of your mindset going into it.
Definitely. So it's just a blessing to, you know, be a part of playing on the national stage. Obviously, we have an opportunity to, some guys might get picked to play on the Olympic flag team to represent the United States of America and a bunch of different countries and international contests. So it's been a blessing, but kind of the signing process to even get to Team America, I was actually at a CFL tryout in Atlanta. I know we talked about it. And, you know, God has a funny way of always throwing opportunities, you know, to people who work hard. Like I say, the harder you work, the luckier you get. It's kind of a mindset I live by. But anyway, so I was in Atlanta trying out for a CFL team, and one of the scouts from Team America was there in the stands. And he actually was one of the people who was scouting at the FCS Bowl as well in Daytona Beach. So they knew my name because I had a great game there, but didn't really follow up with the guy. Anyway, it was April, yeah, because we had the game in end of May, June. I was in the airport going back home, and the Atlanta International Airport. I was sitting at the restaurant. I was kind of disappointed because the CFL tryouts, like, you know, there's a lot of people there. And, you know, I you know, just didn't get the call back anyway. So the head coach from Team America sends me an email. I didn't see the email at the time, so he gives me a call. He's like, hey, Mr. Greene, what are you doing this summer? I was like, man, I hope to be playing the game that I love. He was like, okay, this is the opportunity we have for you, and we can go from there. He said, you have a month. I said, anywhere you need to be, I'll be there. So,
all right. And the first stop was your first game?
It was at AT&T Stadium in Dallas, Texas, which is our home base. So,
which is, yeah, I mean, home of the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, I've been there. I went there last year. Was it 2 years ago to see the Patriots play? Probably it was 2 years ago. But it's such an incredible complex for folks who have never been. So, I mean, you've played on, you know, some pretty decent fields, but that must have been insane in the first game.
Yeah, it was surreal. Like walking out of that tunnel, even when we walked into the stadium, we had to get the metal detectors and everything like that, and the whole locker room and the granite. It was like the stadium is like basically all granite. You know exactly what I'm talking about, but it's like it's all granite and stuff. And I was like, wow, like you could see the scouts too sitting like right under like the kind of right, like not even in the bleachers, like right near our bench and stuff like that. And they all had their clipboards, UFL, some of the NFL scouts, even though we were kind of late. Because it was obviously in the beginning of June, but it was just surreal being there. Like you look in the stands and it seems like it just goes forever. Like it was a surreal feeling, and I hope to be back there one day.
Did you have nerves, butterfly, or are you just so ready for the opportunity at that point that you were just ready to go?
I was ready for the opportunity. Like I always try to tell myself that no stage is too big. You don't want to psych yourself out too much. You want to just keep it so it's just another game, and then after the fact, let the emotions kind of funnel in. You know what I mean? Never want to be too high, never want to be too low. Always kind of want to be zen, right in the middle, so to speak.
So that's your first game, and talk a little bit about the other opportunities you've had so far, and what's upcoming in the rest of the schedule with Team America.
Yeah, so we had a game down in Cancun. It was a really good game. It was pretty cool learning about like the Mexican culture and like how the respect and how much respect that they have for American football, and the things that we have going on in America right now, because they actually have a LFA Liga Football Americano, which is a very high level league too. It's like their version of the CFL. They're trying to expand to become more familiar with Americans, give exposure to that league. So we go down there and play them for an exhibition game. And it was a great opportunity, great weather, great food. I appreciated, the hospitality that they showed for us at the hotel. So that was pretty cool. And then we're going to Canada next week. So I'm glad that, we could get this interview and everything worked out perfectly with the scheduling. But we go to Toronto, Canada next week. They're supposedly really good because obviously it's going to be a lot of the guys from the CFL that are right on the cusp like how we are. So it's going to be a great game, going to be a great shootout. And, I'm excited for every opportunity.
And if you go forward, the final stop for the season is?
The final stop for the season it's going to be Miami. Hopefully in October. That game's still TBD. And then after that, we're just going from there. And then Jamaica in December. Yeah. So Jamaica is going to be epic. It's going to be a great time. It's going to be great weather. And, I'm just excited to play.
For you now, it's kind of in that weird sort of you're on the team and you're part of the roster, but it's that time when you're going to still be working out for other teams, looking for other opportunities that are a little bit more sort of, I guess, determined maybe going forward. How's that playing out for you?
So right now, I'm just staying in the best shape that I possibly can and just praying and working hard for every opportunity that's going to come. And I know opportunities are going to come. I have some UFL tryouts coming up in the fall. I still got to figure out exactly where I'm going to go depending on, which place wants me there. But definitely November and end of September is going to be, big times for tryouts. And then after the game in Jamaica, I'm going to go right into an arena football season. So, which is trying out for those arena teams. Then they start up right at like the January, February mark. So it's literally just a constant revolving door. So just staying in shape, staying healthy, working hard, and, praying hard, and just making sure my mindset is on par with the body too.
I think when we were kind of talking about it, I mean, I've covered a lot of, athletes trying to make their way in professional football, and we had talked about some of them that I had maybe kind of lost track of, but it seems now like there's more opportunities for players coming out of college to find a niche somewhere.
Definitely. It's a great thing too that the smaller leagues are doing, because it's giving a lot of players that fall under the radar an opportunity to prove themselves in, a bigger league and prove themselves, because like I told you the other day, every league outside of college is a step up from college football, even from the smaller leagues such as arena, the international games. Like, these people are professional athletes. Like, don't get it twisted. Everybody is really, really good, bigger, faster, stronger than anyone in college. So to be able to keep climbing that ladder is definitely just a blessing, and it's a great learning experience, because being a small school guy, I test myself against the best competition every single game,
Talk to me about that competition. What is it kind of like? How would you, it's like it equal from like the jump from Division I to Division, how would you kind of categorize the leap that you made into Team America?
Everybody's bigger, stronger, and faster, because you get a lot of the bigger school guys too that are trying to also make their way up. They were on, a lot of them are free agents too, NFL free agents, arena free agents, UFL free agents, CFL free agents. So everybody can ball. It's great competition all around, and it's a test every single week. Practice is a test every single week, every day. So it's just it's been a blessing. It's definitely learned a lot.
How does what's the camaraderie like among the team? Because everyone's sort of, I guess, fighting for jobs, fighting for time, fighting for everything. Is it, or can you find like a common ground when as you're all fighting for the same sort of thing, or how does that work?
It's funny because it was more so at the postseason bowl games, but obviously on the international roster too for Team America, is that everyone has a camaraderie because we all have a mutual respect for each other because we're all chasing the same goal. So there's no jealousy, no envy, anything like that. Like, we all have a mutual respect for each other, and we all know that, it's basically the survival of the fittest, and everybody kind of intrinsically knows that. So we all try to uplift each other in the most positive ways we can because, at the end of the day, football is, a thing that brings people together. And as teammates, we all know that. And we just come together and say, hey, I want the best for everybody on this squad. So it was pretty cool. And at the postseason bowl games, I was just texting one of my buddies before I got here. And I was like, dude, like, I'm so glad that God brought us together and, our paths crossed, because even at the postseason bowl games, like, only a handful of people are going to get noticed by the scouts out of the 100 or so kids that are there. But it's still a mutual respect amongst everybody because we're all the top of where we came from. So it's just a blessing to, have that mutual respect and camaraderie and meet people that have similar stories as you. And, it's just a blessing to be able to meet so many cool people. So the camaraderie is definitely there. It's just a brotherhood all around. Now,
funny little side note, and some of the provided me, I could tell it was who's doing the taping there, because someone was pretty excited when you were chasing down a first down there, and who got to see you in action?
So my girlfriend actually surprised me, and she came down to watch the game at AT&T Stadium. Yeah. So she's been great, supporting me and everything like that. And then for the Dream Bowl game that I had the fumble recovery on the punt. That was, I think, Flow College Football. They cover a lot of the big school games, and it was a blessing to be able to have them, come to our game and get some exposure.
Right. I guess the mindset now, kind of going forward, is it like, do you try to, like, you think 1 week ahead, 2 weeks ahead, one day at a time? How do you sort of, your agent, does he sort of handle that side of it for you and you just focus on football? How do you divvy that up?
They mostly handle the business side of things, obviously because they have the connections. They'll email or call the team, and, I'm not really actually familiar on how they handle business. All I know is that, their job is to get our name in front of scouts. So, I don't really look too much into that. I more so control what I can control, which is showing up every day, working hard, praying hard, making sure I'm in the best possible physical shape. So when opportunity does come, I'm ready,
Now, we mentioned it too. I mean, this isn't inexpensive. You got to pay for your trainers. You got to pay for whatever exercise, rehab, that sort of stuff. How do you sort of manage that and sort of, try to keep on the straight and narrow while keeping your eyes focused on the prize?
I always try to treat my body as an investment. You know what I mean? You see a lot of these NFL guys that invest millions of dollars. Some of the NBA players invest millions of dollars into into their bodies. Obviously, I'm not on that level yet, right. But I try to treat my body as an investment. Making sure I'm hydrated at all times, making sure I have the proper supplements, proper protein intake, investing in a good physical trainer that's going to get me bigger, stronger, faster, and also train my mindset too to know like how to stay relaxed and things like that. So the body's an investment. You have to invest in your body. And, when you start climbing these levels, you're going to need, a little bit of an edge. So sometimes making that few extra dollars to an investment, it's definitely worth it,
And then for traveling, does the team pick up your travel and all that sort of stuff? So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you don't have to worry about any of that.
No, thank God.
Yeah, because might be a little, that might limit some of your opportunities.
Yeah, definitely. We're on the road at all times. Basically, it feels like I'm on the road at all times. So it's nice to know that, everything's kind of taken care of and I can just invest in my body and, focus on, what really matters is, being the best athlete and in the best shape and best mental condition that I could possibly be in come game day.
And towards that end, I mean, you're not together practicing. So how does that sort of work? You had like a training camp, you worked out together, you get the playbook, and then you do like virtual meetings? How does that sort of work?
Yeah, we have a weekly Zoom, so we check in, and then we also have to do mandatory 3 workout videos a week. So we have to keep up with coach, and then we also have like film is tracked, all those kind of things are like tracked to make sure that we're actually doing our part when we're away from the team.
Good. I think we sort of like talk about where you kind of see yourself this year. I mean, the workouts, best case scenario, what do you imagine it looking like for you come December when the season's done?
The best case scenario is, honestly, sometimes I tell myself that the destination is in the journey. You know what I mean? So the destination is in the journey. So I don't really look too far into like getting my hopes up for something to happen. I just know that if I control everything I can control and I work the hardest I can possibly work every single day, God's going to do the rest. All I got to do is meet him halfway. So I just try to be the best version of myself I can be, biggest, strongest, fastest, and just let God do the rest.
When I do these stories, a lot of times you're dealing with athletes that are going into college, getting prepared, and I always look at, we go to their signing days or something like that, and they have like these big smiles, and then you realize that when you get to college, it's a business, and then when you get out of college, it's even more of a business. So what advice would you maybe give to any young athlete that's transitioning maybe to that college level or trying to figure out what to do after the college days are done?
Definitely. The advice that I would give to them is to work extremely hard, like every single day. Sharpen your weaknesses and work extremely hard and pray extremely hard, because God will work wonders. Like I said, I've literally not had an opportunity when I was talking about in the CFL, and literally while I'm at the airport I get an offer to even play professionally at any level. So work extremely hard, pray extremely hard, believe in yourself, and just kind of stay focused on everything that you can control. Don't worry about too much about the competition and where you're on the chessboard. Just work extremely hard, pray extremely hard, sharpen your weaknesses. If people say you can't catch, go play with a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball and just play catch with yourself. Thousands of reps a day, pretty soon you'll be catching everything. So you just have to work extremely hard and just meet God halfway, and he'll do the rest.
And then to that end too, for you, I mean, you have people that you throw with, you catch with. How does that sort of work out to keep you sharp?
So obviously you met my personal trainer. So him and I do a lot of everything together: hand-eye coordination, body control, speed, everything like that. And then also like I said, I do a lot of the lacrosse ball work by myself. Like when I'm warming up on the track and stuff, I'll just bounce the lacrosse ball hundreds of reps a day, play catch with myself, and then just make sure that my hand-eye coordination is on point. I try to leave nothing to chance.
All right. This journey so far, I'm sure it's probably taken more twists and turns than you may have imagined. Have you enjoyed the experience so far?
I've loved it. Everything that I've been through has led me up to this moment, and I wouldn't change a thing. I live, knowing that I'm exactly where God wants me to be, and that I've worked extremely hard to get to this moment. So it's been a blessing, and, I just enjoy everything because it's made me the person that I am today. So everything's been a blessing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come in.
Of course.
Good luck. Hope on all your ventures kind of going forward. And hopefully coming in the new year, we'll have some very exciting news. You can come back and do this all again.
Most definitely, JP. I appreciate you guys having me today. It's been an honor to talk to you guys, and it's been a blessing.
All right,
appreciate
great.
it.
Well, Carl, thank you so much for coming in.
Of course.
And to fans across